this is Kristen from KristenCoaching.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. And the topic of this video has to do with how to resolve conflict in a relationship, especially after a fight. And I have another video, and please click on that link if you want, that has to do with how to stop a fight before it starts and the 3 steps on how to do that. But let's just say you don't use those tools, you don't use that type of communication skill, and you end up having a fight. So we're going to discuss after the fight and how to deal with it and learn how to kind of re-engage with your significant other in the best way possible that works for you guys. Conflict resolution is a very mature relationship skill to have because it takes patience and self-reflection and your ability to put in effort into this type of a thing. And fighting with your spouse or your significant other is very hard. It's a very difficult time in a relationship because there's so many emotions that are intense in this type of a relation that you guys are having with each other, and it can bring up a lot of difficult emotions, and it can be a really hard situation and a hard experience to go through. So I just want to validate that for you because it's not easy, and it's just important to understand and remember that conflict happens in relationships and it can be really hard to get through. But if you do get through it and you get through it in a healthy way, it can bring you guys closer in the end. So that's really important to remember. So let's say you guys had a fight and you guys had an argument, and right now you guys are heated, you've stopped the argument, you've kind of went back to your corners, so to speak, and you're just taking some time. So what do? And I want to just acknowledge too that I think making up after a fight is quite easy if you know how to do it. You just have to use these skills and these relationship skills to be able to do that because it does take some craft and a little bit of finesse, but once you learn it, it's actually quite simple. So the first thing to do if you've had a fight is you want to allow enough space between you guys, okay? So what does that look like? So you guys just had this intense fight, yelling at each other, hopefully not, but it happens, right? So if you're yelling, you're raising your voice, you might have said things that you don't mean, you've been loud and, said some things that just maybe hurt the other person's feelings or whatever it looks like. You want to realize that, you need some space, your other half needs some space. And why is that? Because when you're in that type of a intense situation, you have that kind of fight or flight mode, right? Where your adrenaline's pumping, you're really feeling really just up there energetically, and you don't think as clearly. So when you want to spread out and kind of get that space between you guys, it allows your brain to calm down and to get that adrenaline to chill out so you're able to think more effectively. And you want to allow enough time to be able to do that. And everybody's time and space is different of what they need, but it's important to do because if you're still worked up and pumped up, you're not going to be able to resolve the issue. You're not going to be able to resolve it. So you need to get to a place where you feel calm and that you know that your partner is calm as well before you re-engage. And again, the amount of time looks different for everybody, but I think at least 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, just again to get that body calm, to get your heart rate at a normal pace, your pulse at a normal pace, is very critical. So make sure that you allow space. And then the second thing to do after you guys have a fight is to take responsibility for your ownership of the fight. Okay, so again, you guys have went to your corners, you've allowed enough space, both of you were calm, and now it's time to re-engage. So what is the first thing you should do once you re-engage? The first thing to do is to take ownership and take responsibility for what you did. Again, even if you think you are right in why you guys were fighting and you have a really good point of view and you think that your partner made a mistake, that's still fine. But fighting and yelling at each other, it takes 2 people to do that, okay? It takes 2 people to engage. So usually you can take ownership of the fact that, hey, I got worked up, I said some things I didn't mean, and I'm sorry that I did that. Or you take ownership for making a mistake of what you guys were fighting about. I'm really sorry that I didn't listen to you when it came to this, and I know that I hurt your feelings, and I did not mean to hurt your feelings, and I'm sorry about that. Whatever it looks like, when we take ownership of our personal responsibility in an argument, that automatically brings the defense down on your other half. And so those emotional walls and barriers that you built up over this argument and this fight, they get blown out. They get put down. And so you're able to actually have a conversation with your other half that's productive and not worked up and not emotional. So again, even just taking ownership can really, really go a long way in terms of your ability to actually have an engaging conversation and find a resolution and a solution to the argument and the fight that you were talking about in the first place. So it's really important to practice ownership and be able to do that. I know a lot of times it's a really hard pill to swallow, and trust me, I don't like to do it all the time either. I always want to think I'm right, and I know I'm not. I know deep down I'm not, and I can't be. I can't always be right, even though I like to be. So it's important that you have to take responsibility and learn how to do that. And even, again, just the responsibility of hurting, your partner or making them upset or having ownership of the fact that you made them upset. It's a really mature relationship skill to do. So I suggest you practice that. And then the last thing to do in order to have that conflict resolution after a fight is to be able to validate the other person's feelings and experiences. When fights happen, it has to do with the fact that you guys have differing opinions and you guys have different emotions usually, and you're kind of on different sides of the coin here, right? So you don't necessarily have to agree with your significant other about, their side of it or how they felt about it. You don't have to agree and say, you're right, I'm wrong. But what you can do is validate their experience and validate their feelings. I'm sorry that you were hurt in this whole thing. I'm sorry it made you upset. And to be able to just acknowledge their emotions and their feelings and acknowledge how their perspective on things without putting your own emotional perspective in it is, again, really mature to do, but it's key, because when you validate somebody else's experience, again, they feel heard, they feel recognized, they feel that you get them. It brings you guys together on the same page. So again, validating is really key after you take responsibility and ownership. So you allow space, you take responsibility and ownership, and then you validate your partner's emotions. And that is 3 critical steps to be able to have that conflict resolution after the fight and be able to come back together in a really healthy manner and have that open dialogue going and be able to resolve the conflict. So it takes practice, and I know that it can be helpful and worth it for you guys. So hang in there and try these steps and see if it works for you. And I'm pretty sure it will if you execute it correctly. And again, it takes some time and finesse to do, but I know you can do it, you guys. So please feel free to ask me any questions or comment below. I'll be happy to get back to you on that. And I'll see you guys next time for my next video. You take care. Bye.